Hi, I'm Rachel from Canada. Before I begin, please hit the like button and tell me which city you're in right now in the comments down below. I'm dying to know. Now, let me tell you why I didn't leave home in many years. That's my sister Erin. She's 3 years older than me. We never really got along because we were very different. She was incredibly arrogant and had a sharp tongue. Meanwhile, I had always been a quiet and shy child. When I was a kid, something happened that deeply affected me. Erin and I grew apart ever since then. That day, my parents asked Erin to take me on a walk in an amusement park.
I don't want to babysit her. She's a crybaby.
Not another word, Erin. You're Rachel's big sister, and you need to look after her. Your dad and I have work to do.
You only care about Rachel. Come on, Squirt.
There was a fair in the park that day, and it was packed with visitors. Erin ran into her friends and got distracted. I was staring at a clown and didn't notice her leave. Soon, I realized that I was lost. I didn't have a phone yet, so I could only wander around looking for Erin. However, the park was huge and there were dozens of strangers around me. Soon, I had a panic attack, burst into tears, and sat down on the ground.
I'm scared. I want to go home.
People crowded around me. They were all staring at me and whispering. It made my head spin and my heart beat like crazy. Erin eventually found me and took me home. Of course, she got the scolding of a lifetime for not looking after me. Erin, how could you be so irresponsible? After that incident, I developed a phobia of open spaces and strangers. Simply put, I was afraid to leave the house. After all, I was sure that something terrible would happen to me if I did. Neither my parents nor psychologists were able to help me, so I stayed inside ever since that day. Meeting strangers filled me with such horror that I hid under the bed every time a postman or pizza delivery guy rang the doorbell. Mom and Dad stopped going on business trips to always be there for me. That meant they lost good opportunities and soon weren't earning as much as they used to. Besides, I couldn't go to school and they had to find me a tutor, the only outsider I was used to and could trust. It drove Erin up the wall. Rachel, we're poor now and it's all because of you. Mom and Dad baby you too much. My sister thought I was lying about my phobia because I liked attention. I would have given anything to get rid of my anxiety. After all, I wanted to become a politician, but I knew perfectly well that wouldn't be possible if I didn't overcome my fear. One day, Erin said that her class was going on a field trip to the capital and asked our parents for money, but they said it was too expensive. We spent a lot of money on Rachel's tutor. I'm sorry, but you won't be able to go on the trip. That pissed Erin off and she screamed at me again. Why can't you be normal and go to school like everybody else? It made me sad that my own sister didn't understand me. I need to talk to someone. So I decided to download a dating app and find a friend online. Almost immediately, a guy with a very unusual name, Sapphire Gold, sent me a message. He was interesting to talk to and wanted to become a politician just like me, but for some reason, his father did not approve of his dreams. My dad is very strict and doesn't let me do anything. We sent each other cool ideas and memes every day. Sapphire and I understood each other so well, I felt like I'd known him my whole life. Soon, we exchanged photos. He turned out to be gorgeous. And one day, he confessed that he had to be very careful because he was afraid of something. That sounded mysterious, so I asked Sapphire what he was hiding. Rachel, this is a big secret, but you're important to me, so I will tell you everything. Can we meet? Where do you live? We exchanged our addresses, and it turned out we were practically neighbors. I told him I was afraid to leave my house. I trusted him though, so I invited him over and we set a date and time for our meeting. I couldn't wait to see him. Later, I left my room and went to the kitchen. Then, something terrible happened. I ran into a stranger in our hallway. At first, I was numb with fear, and then I ran to my room screaming. There's an intruder in the house! It's a burglar! Help! My whole family came running to the noise. It turned out that the guy was just Erin's new boyfriend, and she had invited him herself. Rachel, don't embarrass me. Everyone at school is making fun of me because my sister is a psycho. My parents came to my defense and scolded Erin. She knew about my phobia, but invited a stranger over anyways. I'm so sick of this. Soon, it was finally time for me to meet Sapphire. However, he did not come. That was weird. He didn't respond to any of my messages, and his phone was turned off. I was really worried because Sapphire had hinted many times that he was afraid of something. Luckily, I knew his home address. I asked Erin to check up on Sapphire and find out what had happened, but my sister just smiled sarcastically. Ha! If you care about that guy so much, then leave the house and go see him yourself. She was mad at me and refused to help. Damn, what could I do? I was worried out of my mind and kept imagining the worst possible reasons he hadn't turned up. In the end, I plucked up the courage for the sake of my friend and stepped outside. Sapphire? I'm coming. However, as soon as I got outside, I had a panic attack again. It felt like all the passerbys were staring at me. My palms were sweating. burning. I couldn't breathe and tears stung my eyes. Panting, I ran back into the house and fearfully closed the door. At that moment, I was furious with myself. Why am I so weak? What if Sapphire needs my help and I can't overcome my fear? I wanted to turn invisible so that no one would be able to see me, and I would finally be able to go to my friend's house. Even though my first attempt failed, I was not about to give up. I found a forum where people suffering from the same phobia shared their stories. One of the girls had written that wearing a mask to hide her face helped her. Bit by bit, she got used to going out again. That sounded interesting. I wondered if I could follow her example. I found a dusty wig, dark glasses, and a yellow ribbon in our box with Halloween decorations. Put it all on and went outside. To my surprise, it worked! Of course, more passerby than ever stared at me because of my outfit, but no one could see my face, and I felt safe. It was like I was at home or wearing protective clothing. I finally got to my friend's house. Unfortunately, I was in for a disappointment. Some old people lived there, and they'd never heard of Sapphire. I see. Sorry for bothering you.
Why was she wearing such strange clothes? Maybe that's what's in now.
I wandered back home. What had happened to Sapphire? I promised myself that I would find him. My parents beamed at me when I came back home.
Rachel, I'm so glad you finally got out of the house.
They were so happy, they suggested I start going to a regular school again. I agreed on the condition I would be allowed to wear my wig and glasses. I hoped it would eventually help me overcome my fears. My parents talked to the principal and arranged everything. However, things immediately went wrong on my first day at the new school. The security guard didn't want to let me in.
Show me your face.
I can't. It took some time and a call to the principal, but I came to the classroom. But then, I quickly realized making friends wouldn't be easy. My new classmates were all laughing at my outfit and whispering behind my back. I felt very uncomfortable, but hadn't had a panic attack yet. I wanted to sit with my sister at lunch, but Erin was ashamed of me and pretended we didn't know each other. My school life was off to a pretty bad start. At home, I heard my sister talking to our parents. "You don't need to pay for Rachel's tutor anymore. Can you give me the money for the field trip now?" They agreed and told me that since I was doing better, they had decided to go on a business trip to earn some money. Soon, my sister left for the capital with her class, and my parents went on a business trip. I was home alone. Sapphire never showed up, so one day, I took his picture, came to a police station, and told an officer he was missing. His name is Sapphire Gold. The cop gave me an incredulous look, then did something on the computer for a few minutes and said that there were no people with that name living in our city.
That's a made-up name. I also found this photo online. Sapphire Gold doesn't exist, so go home, you weirdo. I need to focus on real cases.
I left, confused. How is that possible? If Sapphire didn't exist, then who had I been talking to? That's when I finally realized what had happened. Wait a minute. Erin must have created a fake account and pretended to be Sapphire to get me out of the house, all to get the money for the field trip. Can you believe it? I went home, furious and miserable at the same time. How could my own sister treat me like that? To my surprise, when I was almost home, I realized a suspicious old man was following me.
Miss, are you Rachel? We need to talk.
That stranger scared me so much, I panicked and ran inside the house. The old man started banging on our door.
This is important.
Oh my god, I was shaking with fear. There was no one around that could help me. I hid under the bed and lay there until the creepy stranger left. Phew. After that, I decided that since I'd only left the house because Erin tricked me, I wouldn't go out again. There were clearly a lot of psychos out there. I'd rather stay in my cozy and safe room. 2 days went by. My parents were still on the business trip. Erin was supposed to have come back already, but for some reason hadn't. Even though I was angry at my sister, I was still worried. So I called her classmates and found out that neither Erin nor Theodore had gone on the field trip. Now that was a surprise. Where was Erin then? I opened my sister's computer and found the messages she'd sent Theodore. That sweet couple had decided to go on a romantic trip to a remote island. They even rented a boat. So that was what she'd actually needed the money for. Since they still hadn't come back, something must have happened. I was scared that Erin and her boyfriend got lost, and my anxiety skyrocketed. I called the police, introduced myself, and asked them to find Erin.
Is it you again? The girl that was looking for a guy that didn't exist?
This time it's serious. I need help.
I don't have time for your pranks. Quit distracting me.
The officer didn't believe me. Can you imagine? I couldn't waste any more time. I put on my wig again, took my savings, and hurried to the pier. Next, I found a fisherman and asked him to help me get to that island. While we were sailing there, a strong wind picked up and my wig and glasses fell off. However, I was so worried about Erin that I barely even noticed that. My sister and her boyfriend were sitting on the shore and trying to start a fire. When they saw me, they waved their hands happily. That's Rachel, over there. Those careless lovebirds forgot to tie down the boat. It had been washed away and they ended up stuck there, unable to call for help because there was no signal on that island. Could they be any more irresponsible? Luckily, nothing bad had happened to them. How did you find us? I got worried and checked your messages. Love made you dumb. You're right. What we did was super dumb. Wait, Rachel, did you go outside without your wig? Oh, right. I realized I was standing out in the open with no glasses or wig and didn't panic at all. Wow, had the trip helped me finally get over my phobia? I was lost in thought when Erin suddenly hugged me tight for the first time in years. Little sis, thank you for coming for me even though you must have been scared. I'm sorry I said so many nasty things to you. I forgave my sister for that, but was still mad at her for pretending to be Sapphire. Can you imagine how I felt? I almost fell in love with that guy, but it turned out he was never real. While we were sailing away from the island, I told Erin that was messed up of her, but she just stared at me, confused. What are you talking about? I wouldn't have done something like that. It was my turn to be surprised. If my sister hadn't catfished me, then who had? Back at the pier, we paid the fishermen, said goodbye to Theodore, and went home. That strange old man was waiting for me by our house again. It's him again! That old man had followed me before! Erin finally remembered that she was my older sister. She clenched her fist and stormed up to that creep. Hey, you! Why are you stalking Rachel? I need to deliver a message from Prince Anil. What prince? What are you talking about? Instead of answering, the man handed me a strange mobile phone. Rachel, this is a special phone with an encrypted connection. Talk to Anil and the prince will explain everything to you himself. Okay. Hello? Who is this? You have such a nice voice, Rachel. It's me, Sapphire. What? I thought you weren't real. Of course I'm real. I guess the name I chose is dumb though. My real name is Anil. I am a prince from India. My knees got weak. Anil finally explained everything to me. It turned out he had come to our country incognito with his family. He was terribly lonely since his dad didn't let him make friends or use social media. He was afraid that someone might find and hurt his son, but Anil didn't listen to him and created an account using a fake name. That's how we met. I'm sorry I lied about us being neighbors and sent you someone else's photo. I was afraid that dad would find out about everything. He has spies everywhere. That's why I tried to be careful. Anil had wanted to tell me the truth about himself in person. However, the day we were supposed to meet, his father suddenly took him back home. Anil couldn't contact me, but he asked his personal assistant to explain everything to me. Oh, so that's who he is. I hid from him like a wacko. You're not crazy, Rachel. I know how you feel. After all, I live in a golden cage too. But there is a big difference between us. I didn't end up in this cage by choice, but you climbed into it yourself, even though you could be free. I told him that I had overcome my fear and could now fulfill my dream of becoming a politician. My life was finally getting back to normal. I wasn't afraid of anything anymore. 6 months later, Anil came back to Canada, and we were finally able to meet. Rachel, you are even more beautiful than in your photos. Thank you, my prince. You're cute too. His father still doesn't know about me. Maybe one day I will visit Anil in India, but that's a story for another day.